Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 1.4. This is the last lesson for unit 1, and it is on converting to vertex form. So this is gonna probably feel weird, and because we have limited time, we can't get into all the details of this. So I'm gonna give you some steps to follow and just try to get down the steps. Okay, so we're gonna do something called completing the square. And why it's called completing the square is kind of a separate story. If you want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about it with you. The idea is essentially it's going to introduce a new number that will allow us to get a perfect square happening in here. Vertex form has that perfect square, x minus something all squared. So we need to get that in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a number to the function, and we're also going to subtract it so we don't change the function. And that probably seems strange, but what it's doing is it's allowing us to rearrange things in our function. We don't want to change what function it is, we just kind of want to change how it looks. So we're not changing, it's like when you change your clothes, you don't change who you are as a person, you just change how you look. That's what we're doing with this function. We're changing its clothes, but we don't want to change who it is as a function. So if we add a number, we take it away so that we don't change who the function is, essentially. So I'm going to take my function and I'm going to open up a space. Whoops, that should be 20. Next to that 20 where I'm going to add a number. And then I'm going to give myself a space where I'm also going to subtract the number. And then I still have plus 12 hanging out at the end. The number that I add is our middle number divided by 2 squared. So I'm going to take that middle number 20, I'm going to divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square it. So that gives me 10 squared, 20 over 2 is 10, and then 10 squared is 100. So the number that I add is 100, and I subtract that same number so I don't change the function. Okay, so the first hard part is figuring out the number that we add and subtract. The next thing we need to do is we're going to factor these first 3 terms. So that's kind of like what we were doing in the last lesson. And then we're going to combine the like terms at the end. Okay, so let's say we factored this. We want 2 numbers that are going to multiply to 100 and add to 20. And in this case, it's always going to be half of this number, which is nice. So 10 plus 10 is 20. 10 times 10 is 100. So we can find it kind of easily that way. So this would factor to x plus 10, x plus 10. If you don't remember that, you can factor it just like normal, just like we were doing in our last lesson. Okay, and then minus 100 plus 12, that's minus 88. Okay, and then the last step is recognizing that, okay, we have x plus 10 times itself. That's equal to x plus 10 all squared. Because squaring means multiply by itself. So if you have x plus 10 times itself, that's x plus 10 squared. And then we have minus 88. And now we are in vertex form. So I know that probably seems strange, but what we did there was we brought in this 100, which allowed us to get this guy, the x plus 10 all squared. And then we kind of shifted the 12 to adjust for the fact that we added 100. Okay, so we just kind of need to practice that process, essentially. So we're going to do 4 examples. Okay, so we're going to start by opening up the space where we add a number and subtract a number. And then we need to figure out what number we add. And we are always going to add this middle number divided by 2 squared. So negative 14 over 2 squared. That gives us negative 7 squared, which is 49. So for this one, we're going to add 49, and then we're going to subtract 49 so we don't change the function. All right. Once we figured out what we add and subtract, we're going to factor the first three terms, just like we did in our last lesson, and then we're going to combine the like terms at the end. So we can know our shortcut that the factors will always be this middle number over 2, or we can look for two numbers that multiply to 49 and add to minus 14. If you do that, you should get x minus 7 times x minus 7. And then minus 49 plus 13 would give us minus 36. All right, we're almost done. X minus 7 times itself is x minus 7 squared. So we can rewrite this as x minus 7 all squared minus 36. And we are now in vertex form. Yay! And we can say the coordinates of the vertex, because we're in vertex form, this is our x-coordinate, but because it's an x, we flip the sign, so we get a positive 7. Here's our y-coordinate. We don't flip y's, so we just have regular 36. So 736. Okay, we're going to keep doing this. Let's do another example. So x squared plus 5x, a space where we add. You know what? We're actually going to not do these two examples. I just realized those have odd numbers, and I don't want us to do odd numbers. So we're just going to jump to number 3. I'm sorry about that. Okay. X squared minus 22x. We open the space where we add a number. We also subtract that number, and then we have plus 16 at the end. All right. So now we just need to figure out what number do we add, and we figure that out by doing our middle number divided by 2 squared. So minus 22 over 2, square it. That gives us minus 11 all squared, which is positive 121. Be careful with that. When you square a negative, you should get a positive number, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So we're going to add 121. Then since we add a number, we're also going to take it away so we don't change our function. And then we need to factor these first three terms and combine our like terms. So our trick to factoring is that the numbers in the factors are the middle number divided by 2. So we would get x and then minus 11 times x minus 11. Or we could factor the long way and look for two numbers that multiply to 121 and add to negative 22. And you should get the same result. You should always get the same number here and here. So if you get different numbers there, something's gone wrong. And then minus 121 plus 16 gives us minus 105. Okay, x minus 11 times itself, that's the same as x minus 11 all squared. And then we still have minus 105, and we're now in vertex form. Awesome. Okay, and then the last thing we can do is give the coordinates of the vertex. So our x-coordinate is the number in the parentheses, and we flip the sign, so it's negative 11. In the vertex, it will be positive 11. The y-coordinate is the number outside, and we don't flip the sign for the y-coordinate, so we get minus 105. Oh, I made a mistake over here. This should be minus 36. Don't flip the sign for the y. Minus 36 stays minus 36. Okay. So that is how you convert to vertex form.